What's going on, everybody? Today, what I want to do is probably go over one of the most powerful concepts that I could pretty much teach anybody. And this concept is so powerful, but the problem is it's going to fly over most people's heads because this idea is so out there, but at the same time, it's so freaking obvious. And the concept is you can't bypass pain if you actually want to grow. I'll say that again. You can't bypass pain if you actually want to grow. And the first time I really learned this, like it really sunk in deep, was back in 2017. So at the time, little history about me. I was in the military from 2009 to 2013. After the military, I decided to get out and become a personal trainer. And from 2013 to about 2014, I was using something called the GI Bill. Now, the GI Bill was a military benefit that I had that actually paid for my school. And not only did it pay for my school, but it paid for me to live. And the amount that it paid for me to live was a pretty substantial amount, which was about $3,600 a month. And at the time, I was living with my parents. I was 23, living with my parents, $3,600 a month. I was just messing around for the first year, going to school. I was going to like community college, and I was just going there to learn about exercise physiology. And I was just messing around. I wasn't taking it seriously at all. And the classes were actually hard. There was a lot of anatomy, neurology, all this stuff. But eventually, I decided to drop out because I found out that there was personal training academies in the city. And I ended up going to two personal training academies. One of the personal training academies was the American Academy of Personal Training, and the other one was the Focus Institute of Personal Training. And these were very advanced schools, especially if you just wanted to be a trainer. And when I got done with the schools, I started working for the gym. And even though I was a pretty good trainer, technically, I had trouble with sales. So now I'm a personal trainer. I'm no longer in school. I still had about like 24 months left on my GI Bill that I could use. And I wasn't getting paid that $3,600 a month. So now as a trainer, the only money I was making was the money I make off of my commission. And because I wasn't good at sales yet, I decided to go to massage therapy school. Now, believe it or not, I ended up becoming a massage therapist. I did a 2-year program called the Swedish Institute. And the only reason why I actually became a massage therapist was because I needed that $3,600 a month to live comfortably. But what ended up happening was, as I was in massage therapy school, and I was still being a personal trainer, I was a personal trainer for about 3 years. And I was picking up clients here and there, and I was doing okay. But the thing was, I knew that schooling, once I graduated from the Swedish Institute, that $3,600 a month was no longer going to be in my pocket. So what ended up happening was I knew that I have to learn how to sell. I have to learn how to persuade people. I not only have to be a good personal trainer, I not only have to be a good massage therapist, but I have to learn the skill of sales. And for me at the time, even though I was a trainer for 3 years and I learned some things, I wasn't taking sales seriously because I was still getting paid that $3,600 a month. But I knew it was coming to an end. And I was no longer living with my parents. Now I have rent. I'm living with my girlfriend. I got to make sure I'm providing my portion of the rent. And I said, look, I got to learn how to sell. And this story that I'm about to tell you is one of the most important lessons I'll ever teach anybody. And I've told this story numerous times, a lot. And every time I tell this story to people, and I've told this story on social media before, every time I tell this story, I always leave feeling disappointed because the question I'm often asked at the end by the person I just told the story to, because I just gave them an important lesson, I always leave disappointed because they just bypass the lesson. Because the lesson itself is actually very, very painful because they want to bypass the pain to grow. And the story is, in 2017, because I graduated from the Swedish Institute, I think it was like June 2017, and I realized I have to learn sales. So what happened was there was a top sales influencer on YouTube, and he was growing really, really fast. And not only was he growing fast, he was actually really, really good. The things he was teaching was valuable. And what ended up happening was he had this course out, and this course was about 30 to 40 hours long. And what happened was somebody took his course and put it all on YouTube for free. And when I found the course, like I literally found the course and I was like, holy crap. I know that if I don't get on it now, somebody's going to take it down. So eventually the influencer is going to find out that it's on YouTube and he's going to have it taken down. So me, it's about 30 to 40 hours of content. I start going through the content and I get maybe about 4 or 5 hours in. The content was amazing. The things he was teaching about sales, persuasion, influence was amazing. But after about 5 hours, I just stopped. Meaning 5 hours over the course of a couple of days, I just stopped. And then maybe a week or two went by and I said, you know what, let me go back to it. And when I went back to it, it got taken down. So I was like, shit, I missed my chance. But what ended up happening was later on that month, that influencer, that top-notch sales guy, he put out a book. And when he put out the book, it was about $12. I was like, let me get the book. Let me learn how to sell through learning from his book. And I bought his book, and the book was amazing. But the problem is, I got about 40% of the way through, and then out of nowhere, I just stopped. I just couldn't get myself to finish the book. So then what I ended up doing, I was like, you know what, maybe I'll get the audiobook so I could listen to it on my way to work as I'm going to, my gym. I could listen to the sales training through the audio, and I'll finish the book that way because it'll make it easier. And guess what happened? The exact same thing. I just couldn't finish the audiobook. So then what happened was this was in June, July, August, September, October, November came. I remember November 2017, towards the end, Black Friday. The guy's course, he dropped the price from $7,500 because originally the course was $7,500. So the course that was on YouTube, that was 30 to 40 hours long, was $7,500. He dropped it from $7,500 to $2,500. And this was in November of 2017. I literally just took out my credit card. This was money I didn't have. I decided to use a credit card, spent the $2,500. The course was approximately 12 weeks long. It was like 40 hours of content, certain amount of hours each week. What I did was I speed rushed through the entire course because I knew January 2018 as a personal trainer, that's when the New Year's resolutioners come in. That's when trainers make their most money. That's when they make their most sales. So I speed rushed through the course. I spent the $2,500 and I learned all about sales through the course. And January 2018 came, and it was the first month in my life that I made over $10,000 for a month. So I made over $10,000. I think I made like $13,000 that month. And I was like, whoa, this was crazy. Now, the funny thing about this story is I ended up getting really, really good at sales, and I ended up making some decent money as a trainer. But the funny thing is, in November of 2021, me and my girlfriend, we took a road trip down to North Carolina. And as I was driving down to North Carolina, my girlfriend, she ended up falling asleep. I decided to put the audiobook on, the original audiobook of the guy's sales course, the sales. And I put the book on, and as I'm listening to the book, I ended up finishing it on the road trip. And I realized that pretty much everything that was in the $2,500 course was in the $12 audiobook. And that's when it hit me. I realized it was the pain of spending the $2,500, particularly $2,500 that I didn't have, that caused me to grow, that caused me to change. It's the investment that I put into it. It's called having skin in the game, that actually caused me to take action to actually change my life. Now, every time I tell this story, and I've told this story on social media before, this is what people do. And it disappoints me because I tell this story in person too. What people say is, well, what's the name of the book? They ask me, what's the name of the $12 book? They don't ask me the name of the course. They don't ask me the name of the $2,500 course. They want to know the cheap little book because they think that they're going to be different, that they're actually going to go and buy the book and finish the book, learn how to sell, and usually this is when I'm talking to trainers. They're going to learn how to sell through a book, even though the information is there. But what they're missing is the whole point of my story. The point of my story is you cannot bypass pain in order for you to grow. By spending the money, by me spending $2,500, and it was $2,500 I really didn't have. I put it on the credit card. That's what caused me to change. And this is what people are trying to do. People are always constantly looking for shortcuts to grow, particularly when it comes spiritually. Like right now, there's all these things out right now that help you grow spiritually. They think there's some special meditation technique, some ayahuasca ceremony, some mushrooms, all of this stuff, all of these movements they could do that are gentle. And this is what I teach too, gentle movements to help you release your baggage. But the thing I teach the most is pain is the pathway to freedom. The reason why I teach gentle movements is for you to actually feel what's there. Because one of the things I always say is feeling better doesn't always mean you're getting better. Just because you feel better doesn't mean you're getting better. It's metaphorically speaking, it's like if you have a headache and you take a Motrin and you're always getting headaches and you just keep taking Motrin, that doesn't mean you're getting better. Yeah, you feel better. The headache's not there. But why is the headache there in the first place? Why is the headache there in the first place? You're in pain and you have to deal with that pain. You have to stop trying to bypass the pain. Stop trying to take the Motrin, so to speak, and actually deal with the pain. And one of the ways to actually grow is learning to actually invest in yourself. Put money down. Find out what works. Find out testimonies of what other people have done. Put the money down. Put the money down. Because often people do not change unless they put the money down or it's urgent. Meaning there's literally like a fire underneath your ass. So for instance, if your goal is to change and to grow, let's say the goal is for me to get from here to that light over there. There's a few ways I could get there. I already know how to get there, but there's something where most of us know how to get to where we want to go. You could literally chat GPT it, Google it. It'll tell you the step-by-step instructions on how to get there, particularly if you want to get money, if you want to get a relationship, if you want to get healthy. It's all on Google. It's all on ChatGPT. You already know what to do. But something's blocking you from taking the steps necessary, taking the action necessary to get to the light. Something's preventing you from walking. You know the path, you're just not doing it. And one of the reasons is you're not investing. You're not invested into the path. You haven't spent the money. So that's one way. If I wanted to get to that light, literally what I could do is pay a lot of money, and that payment is painful enough for me to actually take the action to take steps towards the light. The second thing you could do is realize what's going to happen if you don't walk towards the light. What does that mean? You have to place urgency on yourself. For instance, right now, if there was a lion chasing me, causing me to move to the light, I'm going to move towards the light. A lot of us, we act like we have all the time in the world. Death is coming. Death, D-E-A-T-H. You're going to die a lot sooner than you think. And you're sitting here waiting for the right opportunity. But you got to realize, if you don't take action at least a little bit today, if you don't start taking steps towards the freaking light, you're going to end up just dying and never taking any steps towards the light. So that's the second thing you could do, is start placing urgency on you by coming up with reasons, coming up with particularly painful reasons on why you must reach the light. You cannot bypass pain. Like, a lot of my clients that have had the biggest transformations, particularly when I was a personal trainer, was clients that came to me because the doctor said, if you don't do something, you're going to die. And that's why particularly I love working with the older generation, because it was, I don't want to say it was easier for me to sell to them, but they got it. They realized they don't have that much time. Their knees are falling apart. Their back's falling apart. They're getting bigger. They're getting heavier. Things are harder for them to do. So that's another way to actually start to grow, is place a little bit of urgency on you. Come up with reasons why you have to get to the light. And then the third thing you could do is to do the spiritual work, which is the shadow work, which is the stuff I teach, which is removing the obstacles in the way from you taking steps towards the light. Because what happens is, the reason why we don't take steps towards the light, we don't take steps towards our goals, even though we want them, and even though we know how to achieve them, the reason is our ego believes, our mind believes it's safer to stay where we're at. That's it. There's things in the way that's preventing you from taking steps, because every time you try to take a step towards it, something pulls you away. There's an invisible force. That invisible force is your shadow. It's your ego. It's saying, hey, if you go that way, it's dangerous. And what I teach, what I primarily teach, is basically somatic shadow work. You go deep into your unconscious. You experience what's actually in the way of you taking action. Deal with it, which is painful, by the way. Remember, you can't bypass pain if you want to grow. You cannot bypass pain if you want to grow. So what I do is I get you to settle down, relax, use movements to gently feel into your body. And as you feel into your body, I might have you bring up a feeling or a sensation that you constantly feel, and we deal with the sensation in real time. Now, what you do is you accept it, you become aware of it, you allow it to flow, and in time, as we continue to practice, we end up releasing it. However, here's the key. The work that I teach, people use that as an excuse to not take steps towards the light. So they say, hey, I'm going to work with you first, release the obstacles, release the things in the way before I actually take steps to the light. No. Don't pay me to do that. Don't use me as an excuse to not take steps towards the light. What you got to do is do the exercises that I teach, which is basically somatic shadow work. And the exercises are meant for you to actually take steps towards the light. And when you start to experience these feelings and sensations come up, these blockages, you deal with them in real time as you're taking action towards your goal. And that's basically what I teach. But it's painful. Realize you can't bypass pain if you want to grow. So remember, invest in yourself. Place some urgency on yourself. Come up with reasons why you have to go towards the light. And 3, deal with your stuff. Deal with your shit. Stop avoiding it. Allow it to come up. Experience it fully. That way, you can let it go, be free, and actually have a little bit of fun. So, I'll leave you there. I hope you got some value from this. If you did, leave it in the comment section. Peace.